What's going on, y'all?
Sorry.
Welcome to episode 3 of the POP, where we value progression over perfection.
And Mama, I love you. POP all the time.
We in the woods with it, as y'all can see, and I got my boy Easy with me.
What's up, y'all?
So he's about to just go on and just talk about his journey, where he came from, just drop y'all with the sauce, like we do every time. Ain't nothing too formal. We just in here having a conversation with my boy. He gonna just drop y'all with a little knowledge, and hopefully y'all get a little something out of it. So I ain't gonna do that much more talking, so I'm gonna leave it to my boy Easy.
What's up, man? What's going on?
Not a whole lot, man, not a whole lot. So,
A little chilly out here.
oh yeah, it's a little brick, I ain't gonna lie, but the views is nice, man.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you picked a good location, so
You know, I love the country.
yeah, no, for sure. So tell a little bit about yourself, man. Where you from, what you do?
So my name is Eric Jones. I was from Beaufort, South Carolina. I grew up there until I was 17 years old.
Lowcountry?
Yeah, Lowcountry.
All right, let's make it sure. A lot of people say Beaufort ain't the Lowcountry, so I'm
What?
just making sure.
That's the home of the Lowcountry, man.
Alright,
We
alright.
Gullah Gullah Island. You ever watched Gullah Gullah Island? Benny Pollywog is my first cousin.
Sheesh. Okay.
Nah, but yeah, I grew up there until I was like 17. My adolescent life was poor.
Poor as in like, finances, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So both my parents delivered pizza my whole entire life. And they weren't that great at it, but they did what they could to provide a life for me. And I definitely appreciate it. My father, he delivered pizza, and he back in the Gap, they used to do newspapers.
Okay,
right?
okay,
So he
okay.
used to fill up newspapers at night. So this dude would get 3-4 hours of sleep a day.
Dang.
And he would just keep
Keep
grinding.
going, keep day in, day out.
All day, unless it was Sunday, and then he would sleep all day Sunday. That's when he
Okay.
caught up. I kind of inherited a lot of that, right? Like I'd catch up on my sleep on the weekends. But yeah, and that was kind of my childhood per se. It was just a lot of not really financially getting what I wanted, which made me progress in a way that I knew I needed to get my own money early.
So you knew the life that you was living as a child. Basically, you was like, I ain't trying to be here forever, kind of. Or you just did you know y'all were struggling, or you just kind of?
I knew we were struggling, but I knew something was amiss, right?
Okay.
Because I would go to school, and we were in Shanklin in
Okay.
Whale Branch Elementary, right? So everybody was poor there, but everybody else had Jordans, Air Forces. You know what I mean? They had
Yeah, 'cause
jerseys
they had other
on.
stuff. Yeah, they had that fly stuff.
Right.
Whatever was hot at the time.
And I was stuck in Batman sneakers and
oh, okay,
Payless,
okay.
you know?
Whatever your family could get at the
Right,
time.
exactly, 100%. And I hated it. I hated it to a passion. Like, kids is vicious, man. So
Oh,
they'll
yeah,
clown
they
on
get
you
mean,
for
boy.
whatever. Like, they'll have one pair of Air Forces or whatever, and they rock them things till the soles fall off. But hey, they were better than
Yeah,
Everlast
so
and
whatever y'all-
Shaqs.
Yeah, no, facts. I feel that. I
So
feel that.
that inspired me to make money early. And my mom actually, she actually catered to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at an early age, I remember in 4th or 5th grade, like everybody else had a backpack full of books or whatever, note paper and this, that, and the third. And I had a backpack full of warheads,
Oh, the
lollipops.
candy man. You was the candy
Yeah.
man.
I was undercutting the school. I was trying to, because they sold popcorn and donuts on the weekdays. And I was like, if I can get that money before they spend it, then that's the goal, right? And I would sell warheads for 25 cents, lollipops 2 for $1, whatever. Make a best case just to try to get money.
Right. Okay. Dang. So it sounded like you already was hustling. Like had that money. I know I need to grind. I know I need to get this money somewhere or another.
It became a focus. It
Okay.
became a huge focus for me, because it was mostly just because of peer pressure, right? I didn't want to get clowned no more. So I
Yeah.
wanted-
So yeah, like if you're in that side of it, you're like, oh, these people ain't gonna laugh at me. No more.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And I remember when I first, so all that started in like end of 4th, early 5th grade. And I remember coming into middle school, and I bought my own pair of Air Force Ones. This was 2001 or 2, so Dickies was hot. So I had a Dickie outfit. and I got my sister to go get it airbrushed from the
Hey,
mall.
I was just about to ask, did you get them airbrushed?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I had one outfit. I had one outfit, and I had to like break it up to where I could wear it throughout the year, right?
Right.
But then came, people weren't really buying candy like that in 6th grade, right?
Okay.
Like people wasn't really on it like that, and I had to find something different. So I started doing mixtapes for kids,
Okay.
right? So my dad had bought us a computer. My dad was the fiscally irresponsible person, right? Because we never had no money, so every time he got money, he would buy
Spend
something,
it.
a boat, a car, something that didn't work that he thought he could fix, whatever. So he bought a computer for us, and it had a CD burner. So natural progression, I started getting blank CDs. I was buying those and started burning everybody's mixtapes.
Well, whatever was hot at the time.
Yeah.
Or just what they wanted?
Yeah,
Or?
just what they wanted. So I could get whatever song I needed to get online, because it was a Wild West back then, right? Like there wasn't a lot of, it wasn't a big crunch on what was being downloaded and what was being seen on the internet. So I could get, if you wanted 30 different songs from 30 different artists, I could get it to you, right? And that was my next like financial
Hustle, basically.
Yeah. So I could still do the same thing. It all came back to clothes. Like I wanted to look good.
Right.
I just wanted to be like, I didn't even want to be like the popular kid. I
You just want to
be
fit, like almost fit in almost.
100%.
Okay. So, like the mixtapes and all that, that was hot. And I know you mentioned you were in Beaufort till you were 17. What was that next move? What did you, when you got out of Beaufort, how was that like whole process?
So that brings me into high school, where Beaufort is nice from an outside perspective. And if you visit Beaufort, Beaufort is very nice. But the inner city is, the inner local population of Beaufort is very poor. And everybody in Battle Creek was poor, right? Like, and that was just a fact. And the problem with that came like a lot of people trying to take other people's stuff, a lot of people causing enemies.
Just crime in general.
Crime, racial intensity, right?
I got you.
Whatever the case may be. The high school was predominantly black, but I mean, there was black on black violence, black on white violence, white on black violence, like you name it, it was there. We had metal detectors in school and everything.
Sheesh. It's Beaufort, South Carolina, for those that aren't Lowcountry, just South Carolina. Just want to premise that.
Now, mind you, this isn't like, I'm not talking about like this is New York or anything like that, right?
Of course.
It's just a different, this is my truth that I grew up in. Compared to other people, I'm sure it was a lot worse.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so that came, and that just came mixing with the wrong people. And education was never really important to me. Mainly because everything in school was kind of easy, I guess. It came easy, so I would take tests pretty well, but my extracurricular activities always took priority over like homework and stuff.
Gotcha.
So once I got to high school, like in middle school and elementary, homework was like 10% of your grade, and then in high school it became 30% of your grade. So I never did homework ever.
Right.
And then once
so that 30 was eating you up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was an automatic fail.
Right.
I would have to ace everything else.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a lot of 60s and 70s. I mean, well, a lot of 60s in school. And like I said, man, money was such a priority. Like I got my first job at 15, working at Domino's, and like anything I could do just to, I guess, fit in or feel as on the level of everybody else.
Right. Yeah, which is understandable.
Right. And then with that involved a lot of getting into trouble and getting into the wrong side of things. So around 16 or 17, my father had wound up leaving my mom in that time frame. He was kind of waiting for me to finish school before he went out and did his own thing. He wanted to stay there until I was grown, quote.
Yeah.
And as soon as he found out I dropped out of high school, he was out. And I remember I was sitting at the house. A bunch of friends had just left. left the crib. My mom kind of left the house to myself because she was always working. She didn't come home until 11:30, 12 o'clock. So I was a lock and key kid, right? I got off the bus, went home, unlocked the door, and went in my house. So I had pretty much free roam all my life. And then I was sleeping. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and my mom come banging on the door, screaming, and she was just like, "What did you do? What are you doing?" Da da da. I was like, I had no idea.
Yeah,
what she
you
was
didn't
talking
know
about.
what was going on.
No, yeah, like, at all. And come to find out, they put like 14 shots into my truck.
Oh, dang.
And a couple into the trailer that me and my mom were sleeping in, and yeah, that was kind of a wake up call because we never figured out really who.
Yeah,
did
you
it.
didn't know what was going on. You
Yeah.
you just at the crib.
Yeah, and I didn't think I made enemies like that, right?
Yeah,
like
true.
to that point, right? Like there's people that, sure, they didn't like me, but there wasn't nobody I thought wanted to try to hurt me or my mother.
Yeah, facts.
And it might have been something else. It might have been something that my brother-in-law at the time was related into or something. I mean, like everybody was into their own thing.
Right.
But it was a big wake-up call for me, and it put me in a predicament of, is my lifestyle and my choices putting my mother in danger?
That's deep.
Right.
Yeah.
So I saw the crossroads. Like people talk about a crossroads of going left and right in your life, and people don't recognize it. And I visually saw it. I was talking to a female who later became my wife in Washington State. She was in the Army, and she told me to move there. And I could have either stayed home in Beaufort and continued to go down my path that I was going, or leave it all behind and start something new and fresh in Washington State. And yeah, I really saw it, and I knew where if I stayed home, it was
Where
gonna
it would lead to.
Right. I knew it was just a dark path, and I was like, at least if I leave, I have a shot, and I can keep my bullshit out of my mom's life.
Right. Dang. So how was, like, I know that was nerve-wracking since you say you had been in Beaufort that whole time, but seeing that crossroads, saying if I stay here, this is what might happen based off what just happened. Like, it's a path of a whole bunch of nonsense, darkness that could potentially, negativity just spiraling down.
Right.
But you said Washington, you moved to Washington at that time?
Yeah, Washington State.
And she was in the Army, so did that, when you got out to Washington, is that when you were like, I want to join the military and stuff like that, or?
So, that was my first plane ride ever, right?
Okay.
So I jumped on a plane and landed there, and I had no idea what I was gonna do there.
Yeah,
Like,
you were all the way on the other side.
Yeah, I literally, as far as I can get away from South Carolina, I got.
Okay.
But there was the only opportunity I had. And then once I got there, I thought I could follow suit with my regular job and I was kind of like a sous chef at a bar and grill.
Okay, like
shift leader
cooking and stuff like
you know
that.
what I mean? Yeah.
Doing everything basically.
So I tried to apply to a bunch of different jobs, but Washington states were different.
I bet.
Right, in their laws. So anywhere that sold alcohol, they wouldn't let me work. I couldn't work at a gas station because they sold beer.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Because you wasn't 21.
Right.
Okay.
And in South Carolina, they don't care, but you could work at a gas station at 16.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, so that was super rough, and I ended up finding a few different jobs where I was working at Red Robin and like just really bad jobs where I wasn't getting paid nothing. Like I was as a teenager in South Carolina, I was making $2-3 grand a month, and I went to Washington and I was pulling in $250 every 2 weeks, $350.
So you was getting paid half that.
And I had no support system.
Yeah.
It was just me and her. Right, and we weren't married or anything, so she wasn't getting extra money from the military. She was living on an E4 pay.
Oh, okay.
Right, as a specialist in the Army, she was getting paid nothing, like $1,200 every 2 weeks, and I'm pulling in another $300-400.
Yeah, all skating by. Right?
Yeah, not even like.
Yeah,
I remember searching for change just to go to the dollar menu at McDonald's. Thank God for the dollar menu.
Right, back in that old dollar menu.
Yeah, where things was really $1.
Yeah.
We survived off that for a long time. And mind you, I'm a high school dropout, right? I didn't get past the 10th grade. So I wasn't even thinking about the military. And she sat me down and was like, look, man, this ain't working, right?
Some gotta
Yeah,
give.
something got to give. Like, you not pulling in a lot of money. I'm not pulling, like, we can't live like this. Like, it's hard to find food. So she was like, go talk to the recruiter. And I was like, man, they're not even gonna entertain me. And she was like, nah, I got a homie that works there, whatever. And I was like, all right, cool. So I went to go talk to a recruiter, and he said this exactly what I said. He was like, man, I don't know what I can do for you.
Yeah.
Man. Right? Like, you have nothing, you don't have a GED, whatever. He was like, go get your GED and this, that, and the third. And I was like, man, I'm gonna be real honest with you, bro. Like, I'm not about to go do that. And he was like, wait a minute. He was like, let's go take this test. Because I already had an ASVAB test in my records they're good for 2 years. And mine was still good for another 6 months.
Okay.
And he was like, you took the ASVAB and passed it, right? And I was like, yeah. And he pulled up my GT score or whatever. And he was like, all right, let's go take this pre-ASVAB right fast. And I was like, okay. So I went in the office, took the pre-ASVAB, scored relatively the same. And he was like, all right, I talked to my commander, and he's willing to let you just take a GED test.
Dang.
Like, we'll pay for it. You go just take the test.
Right.
And we'll schedule it for next week. And I was like, all right, cool. And that's what I did. Like, no studying or nothing. I just took the GED test, passed it. Out of school for 2-3 years, right? And just, I was able to, luckily enough to pass it in Olympia, Washington. And yeah, I mean, I got super, super lucky because right after that, so I joined Boots on Ground and Basic Training in Jacksonville in July. I think it was September, they changed the policy where they didn't accept GEDs anymore.
Dang, so you really met that cutoff for real. Dang, so it sounds like it was like meant.
Predestined,
Yeah, predestined,
right? Like,
almost.
that's kind of crazy. The way it's set up was really nuts. It was really, really crazy.
That's wild. Yeah. Dang.
Because now, even to this day, like, they still only take people with high school diplomas. You know what I mean?
That's wild. So you would say that your girlfriend at the time was a big influence on why you joined the Army. Were you thinking about military? Did you know anything about the military before that, or?
I hated the thought of the military, honestly. Like, I always saw the military as like, you're a nut or a bolt in a machine that could be easily replaced.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
do this, do that, do this.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, they don't really care about anyone. And I didn't know a lot about the actual military itself until I got in. But so me and the girl wound up getting married before I went, right, in April. And then I shipped off in July, came back in November, and I originally started out as a cook. Worst decision of my life.
Did you go in as open, or did you go in? Did you know you were gonna be a cook?
I picked the cook because
you already knew
cooking.
that. Yeah,
Right.
you already knew that. Okay.
I knew that lifestyle, so it was cool. But once I got into being a cook, man, like, I realized how much they really ain't Army like
Right.
that, and how much they really, how much it just sucks, man. I mean, we work 6 days a week from 7 to 7 every day. Your day off was randomly in the week, so you'd have a Tuesday off when nobody else was off.
And people don't understand how important that is too, because they just, the food ain't good, the food ain't this, food ain't that, but they don't know who's actually preparing the food and who's like behind the scenes.
Well, you have no creativity.
Yeah,
right?
you
like,
just cook what
you
they tell you.
You have to follow a recipe that's guided by Big Army or Big Navy or whoever it is.
Yeah, DOD or whatever.
Yeah, like, you have no real creativity into it. So how much salt is meant to be put in there is put in there, right? Like,
I don't make this for real. I just follow this.
Right. You following a cue card the whole time, and that made it even worse because I had so much freedom as a cook before, where I could make and create. And then that lasted like a year, bro. I was over it. I went to Kuwait, stayed there. Me and my ex-wife, we stayed there for a year, going to other bases in Iraq and whatnot. And we didn't even cook while we were out there. They had us like doing truck driving.
Yeah, do other
whatever.
jobs.
Yeah, all that stuff. And yeah, while I was there, I only signed up for 3 years. So while I was there, I hit my halfway retention mark, so
Right.
you could re-up,
Mhm.
and I re-upped to reclass, and I went to commo. I went to communications.
So like basically IT for the military.
Yeah.
Okay. Dang. So what I know I get this all the time just being in the military, stuff like that. What people always just try to say, like, is the military a good move for them? Like, should I go National Guard, Reserves, active duty, whatever, like what branch, and what's your experiences? What kind of advice would you give somebody that either thinking about the military? Like what do you think it's, I'll just let you answer that. What do you think?
It saved my life, man.
Okay.
I'll be real honest with you. As much as I was against it originally, it gave me structure in my life. It gave me focus. It gave me a way to really, like, put myself on a path. Because I was pretty lost before then, right? Like, cooking was, like, the only thing but I didn't have, like, a real passion for cooking. I was just good at it.
Yeah, it was just, that was a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were doing it.
And I was decent at it, right? And the military gave me more focus on just being structured, keeping me on a regiment, keeping me physically active 5 days a week, right? This is active duty. And, like, understanding the total soldier concept. But it also puts blinders on you, too, right? Because you get so brainwashed into the system that civilian life isn't like that, right? Whatsoever. Like,
Yeah, you got that freedom.
You got a lot of freedom in the civilian life to hold the reins and really progress the way you want to progress, opposed to being in a structured environment, right? Like, I knew exactly what I needed to do to get to this next level. I knew exactly what time and grade I needed to do, or this study material I needed to pull off. Where
No faster. It's just,
Yeah.
Yes.
exactly, so you're gonna get there when you get there, right? As long as you hit these trademarks. Where in the civilian side, you could stay in the same. You could be an assistant for your whole life.
If you want to do that, yeah.
Right. Like, it's on you to progress. It's really on you to progress, and you have to vocalize that. So it gave me a foundation, and it gave me a leg up of being a veteran, like a combat veteran, right? That helps with resumes and whatnot. But anybody that needs a focus, or if you're feeling that loss, man, I highly recommend the military.
Just all those, just like a lot of people see the front face but don't see the back end benefits
Right.
of it that come with it once you're either in or after you get out, because it's really only a few years of your life that can potentially set you up for
Success. 100%.
Like school, just healthcare.
The one thing I would advise, though, is make sure you take a job that translates to the outside. There's 58 jobs in the Army.
Yeah, new jobs always popping up.
Right, and
Like,
I'm sure the Air Force is the same way, right? And people go pick to be an 88 Mike or a cook or something that doesn't really translate to the outside. Or like I got a good friend of mine, a brother, his name's Benny Smith. He was a 12 Bravo, which was a combat engineer. Worked with demolition, blew up bridges, C4, all that, but it doesn't correlate to the outside because he didn't have any demolition licensing.
Right.
He didn't have
He just
any of
kinda
that
doing
stuff.
a job.
He was just doing it, right? Yeah. And now if he wants to pursue anything in that life, he's gonna have to do 2-3 years in school to even get around demo.
Dang.
Even with all that experience, right? So you really gotta do your homework and see what translates. When I went to IT, I knew that I could take all these certifications, and my lack of education wouldn't mean anything because I can get Security Plus, Net Plus, CASP, you know what I mean? All these things.
all the industry leading IT certs.
Correct. Yeah.
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 Dang. Yeah, I was just about to ask. So it sounds like you kind of just went to IT because you knew that was going to be correlatable, the best set you up when you got out. Or was that an interest of you, or how did that?
I correlated it the same way I did in school, right? Follow the paper trail.
Whatever. Yeah, let me get that bread.
Yeah.
Let me get that bread. Yeah,
Whatever led me to the money in the easiest way, right? And back then, right, it's on a downtrend now, but everybody needed IT.
Yeah.
IT was from 2010 to 2021, 2022 really. Like, everybody needed IT, and they couldn't fill the spots fast enough, right? Now it's more on the downtrend with AI coming in and cloud computing. Like, they need more, like, industry, like, subject matter experts, so it's a lot harder for IT now. But yeah, at the time, man, that was the
I
golden
need to get
ticket.
that. I need to get that money.
Right.
I need to go back to the hustling, you know.
I remember
that hustling
I remember
mindset.
literally thinking, like, when I got the job, I was like, I'm guaranteed $50,000 when I get out.
Yeah.
And at the time, like, that's crazy money, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's 50 grand a year is nuts. And that was like, my life goal at the time was $84,000, right? Like, I wanted to do that so bad. Like, I knew if I made, I don't know why I picked 84, honestly.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a random number, but I mean, it sounds good.
84, 85, something
Yeah.
like that. And I was like, I knew if I made that, like, I would never have to struggle. I would never have to work for, you know what I mean? Like, my life would be taken care of,
You'd
my
be straight.
house, my whatever. Even if I had a wife that didn't work, like, I could take care of everything.
Good.
That was more than anybody in my family had made. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So,
Dang.
yeah, that was kind of my goal,
Yeah.
which I hit that by the time I hit like 28, which fucked me up.
Yeah, that's good, man. What so when you got into IT, you said you was like halfway through your contract. When you had the other year and a half, did you already knew you were getting out, or did you want to pursue a longer career in the military?
No, I signed back up for an additional 3.
Oh, because you had to do that to reclass?
Right.
Okay.
So now my 3-year contract turned into a 6-year, and I stayed in for 8 years total.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did a year and a half as a cook, and then the rest was
Why
all
not
IT.
20, as everybody else would want?
It was just not enough money.
Yeah.
Again,
because
like,
you could see, you already knew what that IT industry
Right.
could produce outside, so you kind of like, I can make this bread.
right, I was an E4,
Even more.
right, and like making, I mean, with BH and all that stuff, I was probably making like 21 a check or something like that, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But like that stuff didn't really count. Like how the money didn't correlate to what I could make on the outside, and I knew that for a fact that I could make way more money with the IT certifications that I had, and I felt like I did what I needed to do in the Army.
Right. It
Right.
gave what it needed to give.
Yeah. And my last deployment really messed me up pretty bad, and I went to Afghanistan for a year, and as an individual deployer. So typically when you deploy to Afghanistan, you deploy with a unit.
Yeah.
Like there's like 100 of us or whatever. This was a duty station in Kuwait, which they had a detachment in Afghanistan. So I hit Kuwait. I was supposed to be in Kuwait for a year at the brigade, and the brigade was like, nah, you're gonna go to the company in Afghanistan. So I was in Kuwait for 19 hours, and then they shipped me to
Dang.
Qatar. I was there for 48 hours, and then they shipped me to Afghanistan. And I just landed there with a bunch of other people that were in a war zone, and they're
Right.
like, who the fuck is this guy?
Dang, that's a real Call of Duty, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. I know that's a very touchy subject, the deployment stories and stuff like that. So we won't go into too much details on that, but we definitely want to know, especially a lot of people who are in the military, either looking to get out or just thinking of how can I set myself up going forward in the military, and I correlate a skill to get out. How was it transitioning out of the military, and how was that job process, getting out of the military, looking for a job, and what was that next job, that next step for Eric?
So I set myself up for success, right? On that, like I'm somewhat good at future planning, right? So I knew like the certifications that I had would set me up for a job on the outside, and these were all things that I was doing 3-4 years before I was even thinking about getting out, right? Like I'm grinding for these certs. Anything that the military would give me, even if it cost me my own dime, like CASP, I paid out of pocket for that. Like the military wouldn't pay for that because I didn't reach that level of rank in order to qualify
Makes
for them to
sense.
pay that. So
Makes
I
sense.
paid it out of my own pocket, and I took those tests.
Right.
Like when I got CASP, man, I had sergeant majors running up to me and was like, "How'd you do it? What'd you use?"
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, because those are things that they wanted.
You had just paid for it.
Yeah,
Right.
I came out of my pocket. Like I knew there was things I needed to do to set me above everybody else, and it's through independent research.
Right.
Right. You gotta look at your job market and see what people are in demand for. And yeah, when I got out, I had like a little summer vacation. I called it. I did 6 months of nothing. I lived.
Just chill.
Yeah, I did. I lived in Vegas for 4 months, and then lived with my sister for a couple months until the money started drying up. And then, I put out resumes one day, and then 2 days later, I was hired.
That's good, man. That's was the civilian life, I would say, was a civilian life, and then that's that's just about the same as just living. How was the professional civilian life? Like working?
Different.
Yeah, different.
Different. And I remember when it was different because I got into the office, and I remember it was probably 2 or 3 weeks in. I got pretty comfortable with everybody that was working around me and understood. And I remember I walked up to this lady. She was an older lady, and I asked her if she could do something for me, and she looked at me with like this disgust. It was like 11:30. She looked at me and she was like, "I'm eating my lunch. Leave me alone."
She said it's lunchtime.
And I was like, in the military, that was what? Like,
Right.
get your, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, move.
Right.
Eat that later, whatever. And like, then I really, like, it was a shocking thing for me. It was a culture shock because they just play the game differently. They do their job and they go home. Mm-hmm. There's a work-life balance. And in the Army, it's a 24-hour soldier. Mm-hmm. It was, they call you at 6 o'clock at night, man, you got to be there, right? And so
it is what it is.
For someone to be like, they eating lunch, don't talk to me, I was just like, I'll rip your face off. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I wanted to toss her whole desk.
Dang.
But,
yeah,
it was just a reality check of it. And then I just started realizing, like, you have to talk to people and you have to smooge, rub elbows, right, to get
you want to be friendly,
favor.
because a lot of people don't like that. Oh, here's that guy wants some help again, but he ain't nice to me, so I ain't gonna be nice to them.
Exactly, right? And it's
politics,
like favor for favor type deal, and to get anything done. Corporate America was just different. Corporate America is way different than the military.
For sure. So I know a lot of people don't know this, and I like hearing the story, but your gamer tag, all your social media tags is HBG, easy.
Yeah.
What does HBG stand for?
So Hot Brass Gaming is what it stands for. That's me and my 5 brothers. Well, it's 5 of us in total, including me. All of us were in Hawaii together, and
in military?
Yeah.
Okay.
All of us are active duty. A couple of them are engineers. One of them is chemical warfare, and I was IT. And those are my brothers, man. That's my family. Like, I put those guys in such high regard, and like, you deal with things after the military, right? And there's a lot of like depression, PTSD, things like that. But those guys in particular saved my life so many times,
right?
Without even trying, just by being
just
there,
being there,
and relating to situations, because we all got out around the same time. Some of us stayed in longer, some of us got out earlier, but it was all relatively around the same couple of years. And we all went through our own struggles, marital, life, homelessness, whatever the case may be, but we always had each other's back. And like I said, man, like those guys, I'd take a bullet for any one of them.
And it's crazy because a lot of people just always wonder, like, what does the military give you? And I always say lifelong friendships, man, like lifelong brotherhoods, relationships. And it's crazy because so many people from different backgrounds all come together with one common goal to support whatever their mission is. And I think it's very beautiful when you sit back and you look at all the relationships that survive this long. Because if you got like a regular friendship, typically, it lasts a couple years, and it depends on who keeps up with who. But like, I mean, you just with HBG and with just the friends that I've made in the military, like, we talk for years and just keep up over years. And it's like when you see them in such a long time, it's kind of like you catch up, but it's kind of like time never left. It's kind of like, it's weird. It's like, it's kind of, and it's odd. And a lot of people don't understand that, but it's like, if you're in the military or you just have that, I would kind of correlate to sports too. Like, you were in the trenches with this person for years, or even for a few months, but they just relate to you so hard, and it just kind of like, I'll just say either if you know, basically.
It's trauma bonding.
Yeah, that's all.
Right?
Yeah,
it's trauma bonding.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because I think the reason why we're so close is because the unit that we were in Hawaii, was so bad, man.
Yeah.
It was the most.
And they probably made it better, like
Oh,
like
man.
just having those people that just embrace the suck with together. You're like,
I almost got that tattooed on me.
yeah, embrace the suck, man. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, I hate it here, but the people make it so much better. Like, I come in here just for y'all. If y'all
Right.
leave, then I'm leaving.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm trying
I'm
to slide.
gone. No,
So,
100%.
yeah, that's
I used to have that as a bracelet on all the time, and like civilians didn't understand it, and they thought it was some sexual thing. I was like, nah,
embrace the
no,
suck,
no,
man.
no.
It's just like we just gotta embody it, man.
Yeah, dude, you gotta just take it on the chin and just keep going, right? Like, yeah. Trauma bonding is the best probably term for it, man. Because I mean, these guys, we all went through, even with bad first sergeants, corrupt leadership. Like I had an E7 relief duty. That was my senior leader. We had a first sergeant that got relieved of duty for unsafe work conditions, DUIs in the leadership. So it was just like, I don't feel like most of the military is like that, but that unit just happened to be like that. And yeah, forever bonded to those guys, man.
For sure. What do you think the military has given you skills, or like, have you embodied anything that the military's taught you that you still have today?
Composite risk management. That was something that they really like beat into our heads, was like understanding what we correlated to shooting targets, right? So 50-meter targets, 100-meter targets, 150-meter targets, right? So understanding what those are, what those blockades are going to be, and what the operation is to get past that first blockade and get to the second one and overcome that, right? And keep keeping an eye out, because that first blockade might come back, right? And that's all about getting the mission done, whether it's a convoy getting from point A to point B, or it's getting your workload done for the week, or you're working on a new project with your project manager and you're building it from the ground up. Like, you have to have that risk analysis in order to understand what are going to be these things, or what are these possible things. That way you can pre-prepare in order to overcome, right?
That's true, man. You have to understand what is the risks at anything you're doing. How to overcome those is very important.
Right.
Very, very much so.
Because you don't want to be caught with your pants down at the end of the
for
day,
sure.
right? You want to try to calculate for every obstacle that can possibly go. Plan for the worst, hope for the best, and that's just the best way to go about any professional and or your life, right? Like relationship.
Dang, yeah, you hit that on the head with that. Like, you want to prepare as best as you can, because everything's not gonna go your way.
Right.
But you got to know what to do when things go south.
Have a plan B, C, D, and E.
Facts.
Yeah,
man. So, like I said, you told us your journey and stuff like that. And what do you know? Kind of, are you at where you want to be in life? Like, are you?
No.
Do you know the steps how you want to get to where you want to go?
Yes.
Okay.
So when I hit that financial threshold, right, of like I wanted to hit $85,000, I hit that when I was 26, 27.
Mm-hmm.
And it really like turned my life upside down, right? Because I didn't think I was gonna hit that until I was
way in life.
70s.
Yeah, way
60s.
in life, or not even hit it at all.
Yeah, maybe not, right? That was my shining star, and then I hit it, and I had nobody to turn to. Like I remember I called my father, right, and I was like, I have this extra cash, right? Which is not a lot of money.
Yeah, you just didn't know. You never had that much kind of at the time.
But yeah,
throughout life, you never had that kind of.
But it is a lot to a lot of people, and I didn't realize that. But I was like, I have this extra $1,000 a month or $1,500 a month. Like, I'm not quite sure what to do with it. And I turned to one of the only people that I would even trust to talk about something like that with. And I told him verbatim what I was making, and he was like, my best year was $40,000. Like, I don't even.
He couldn't even fathom.
He
didn't even know what you were talking about.
He was like, you're fine. Like,
right.
What are you talking about? And he just didn't get what I was trying to ask. And he didn't have the tools for it, right? Like, he was
he only knew what he knew.
Right, he was a delivery man. And so, like, he busted his ass, worked harder than many men that I know, but he didn't know how to. And when that happened, man, I was even more lost. So then I just came out with, like, a radical I watched the movie Gambler. You ever
Okay.
seen the movie Gambler?
I haven't, but I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it, the previews and all that.
It's Mark Wahlberg.
I gotta catch that.
He's a degenerate gambler, and there's a scene in that movie where he's sitting there talking with Dan from Roseanne, and he says something about a fuck you position. He's like, any idiot knows what to do with $2.5 million. You put it in the bank, a Roth IRA and a money mutual. You make 5 to 10% back on your money every year. You get a 30-year roof, and then you're in a position to fuck you.
Sheesh.
Right?
Uh-huh.
A position to fuck you. You don't like what your job is telling you? Fuck you. You don't like
Basically,
what,
walk out.
like what your manager says? Fuck you. You don't like what your wife is doing? Fuck you. You're out. Right? Because you're in that position that you're always going to be financially set. You have that residual income coming off of regular assets, and you're in that position. So that movie, just that scene in that movie, inspired me to make that new goal of hitting $2.5 million, which I'm nowhere near.
Yeah, but that's
That's my next.
Yeah, you got to have something to chase.
And that, having a residual income of investments like liquid, not net worth, but liquid.
So where your money making you money.
Yes.
That's dope, man. That's the main goal. I feel like that's everybody's trying to. I don't want to work for my money. I want my money to work for me.
Right. And I want to be able to do what I enjoy. Right. Like IT, I'm good at. I'm cool with this corporate American stuff, but at the end of the day, I'm hoping that I can get to a point where I can do like something for like set my own Boys and Girls Club up. And like they don't have to necessarily live how I live with the peer pressure of others, right? Like I'll provide them a shirt and some pants for everybody who needs it, and they all come.
Make their life a little easier.
And I give them a safe place to be after school or whatever the case may be, and that might be funded by the government or by the community itself, where parents don't have to pay for it, right?
That's smooth, man.
Because there's a lot of it in Beaufort where there's a lot of parents that couldn't. That's why Boys and Girls Club failed in Beaufort, was because you had to pay for it as a parent, and they couldn't afford it.
Gotcha.
So I want to do something that's non-profit, and help kids that were like me or like many of us other kids, and just give them a safe haven, right? Like that would make me happy.
Yeah, helping others.
Right.
So as you can see, the sun is going down, so we're gonna speed it up, and I just really I'm gonna continue this trend, and everyone's definition is a little bit different, but the premise of this conversation is always to just overcome anything that comes in your way and make sure that you're not taking any backward steps, and always progressing, whatever that means for you, and trying to achieve perfection, even though that's something that probably would never be obtained. What is your definition, or what comes to mind when you hear the word progression?
So progression is a weird term, right? Because people think that, like you mentioned, right, not taking any steps back, but those steps back sometimes is where you learn the most, right? Failure is where we learn those lessons, and they resonate with you, right? So progression is pushing yourself, finding a goal, right? Which a lot of us don't have that, right? A lot of us use it as like, get a house, or even me when I say like a monetary value. Well, what I found in that monetary value is, now what, right? I hate that goal, right? Now what, right? And even though I made this 2.5 million or whatever as my life goal, my real life goal is to get to my happiness, right? Provide a service. So my goal is to progress in myself spiritually, mentally, and physically into a position that I'm able to help others. Because I'm a firm believer of helping yourself before you can help others. Putting yourself in a position that you can help. Because a lot of us, especially growing up poor, we'd give our last dollar out to help somebody else, and now we shot out, right?
That's deep.
Right?
That's deep.
My mother did that her whole life, right? She would give everything she could to other people because it made her feel good, right? And I get that, but it put her out, all the time. So progression is literally putting one foot in front of the other, and if you take those steps back or something pushes you backwards, you have to learn. You have to understand what happened. You have to understand what measures you need to take in order to avoid that pitfall again.
moving forward. Yeah. Because I mean, I think a lot of people, they fall and they don't figure out why they fell or why they're going back.
Right.
And then they just it's a life lesson. Obviously, you were placed either backwards or you failed in order to either that's not for you or you just need to look at it from a different angle. There's a whole bunch of reasons as to why.
Or they'll blame other people.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
A lot of times they'll blame, oh, it's in God's hands, or oh, this person don't like me, blah blah blah. You can put that blame all you want to, but what are you doing about it?
Yeah.
How are you adjusting fire? Are you continuing to do the same thing? Are you going back to that same person and just avoiding them now? That's not addressing the issue. How are you going to fix the issue? So you have the realization of what that obstacle is and how you're going to go about it, whether it's leaving, going to a new job, going to a new city, whatever the case may be.
Right.
You figure it out.
Dang, that's wise wisdom from HBG Easy. Y'all better write that down for sure. All right, man. So it was lovely, man, to hear your journey, hear where you're going, hear where you started, where you're going, where you came from, just like the progressionary steps that you got to where you're at and your ultimate goal of your happiness. So, is there anything that you want to leave the folks with, our viewers?
Nah, man. I think I said my piece, man. I appreciate you having me on here, though.
Oh yeah, man. You already know, man. You already know, man. So that's another episode, y'all. So we'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.